Thank you so much, Connie. That was very brief and up to the point. Nothing much has changed, but at least you see that in the urban area, a little bit of changes are being felt. However, I like the fact that you spoke about how majority of the population is youth, but you don't have much youth in representation. But we will come to that as well. Is Nano Usu here? Are you ready? Nano Usu, are you ready?
Yes, please, I am.
Okay, nice, nice. So Nana Usu, what change have you actually seen since you started this youth civic leadership engagement?
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Jeanette. And thank you all for being on this platform. Actually, there are more of my people here, Naya James, and there is. Thank you for being on board. Okay, so actually, what I've seen as a change when I started this work is, personally, I've been in philanthropy for long, but my foundation is 5 years old, and the whole idea of starting a foundation and actually putting ideas together.
Nana, we keep losing you. Would you want to reset and come back so that we can handle Ambassador Henry Sabuti?
Keep losing you. I think,
Okay, Ambassador Henry,
yeah, we
let's
might
have
we
your
might
take.
move to Henry for the meantime.
Yeah. So, Ambassador Henry, let's have your take, please.
All right, can you hear me? Am I clear?
Yes, you are.
Okay, once again, thank you so much for having me, Miss Jeanette and Khalid. Nice meeting you today. And nice to see all the
So,
great people
Ambassador
here.
Henry, let's have your take.
Dr. Esi Abase, I'm so privileged to have all of you, all the folks from Yali. I think it's a privilege to have
Yes, you
you.
are.
Dr. Edem and Mr. Ado, thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, talking about youth leadership and civic responsibilities and engagement, I think I am a I'm a person that has lived it over the years since 2006. I've engaged myself in civic activities to support my community. It's all aimed at seeing the community change or seeing the society change or bringing change to the community and bringing change to people one by one. It might not be instant, but once you change a person, you're on the way to change the whole community. It's about the ideologies and how you reframe the ideology and how you relive your life for them to see that yes, they can also do it. So basically, volunteering in projects, community projects, engaging in social enterprises. That simply means that you engage in a business or an enterprise that to bring profit that goes back to the community. Yeah, that goes back to change people's life. That goes back to support education. That goes back to support health. That goes back to support infrastructure development in the community. That is all about civil society. And then probably engaging or advocating for youth involvement in decision making from the top, from the presidency to the local levels. You know, all the policies that our leaders formulate or come from parliament are geared to the youth and the young people. So most of the time we have to be involved in the we have to get the youth representation in it. We have to see that every effect, what effect does it bring to us as people, and how can we get involved and make sure that this is for us. So if there are unnecessary borrowing, if there are unnecessary spending of government, if there are unnecessary wastage in the government budget system, the youth must be involved. They must get involved and make sure that what you're doing might not affect you, but it might affect the youth that are the generation that are coming. So there must be greater participation of young people in decision making in our community, and then there must be proper advocacy. For me, I've lived it, advocating for better education, advocating for decent education for every child, advocating for development in our communities, advocating for education for people in deprived communities. That is the goal. So you can't have education where the cities enjoy proper facilities and well furnished classrooms and computer labs and library, while the deprived communities in the villages does not have any. But at the end of the day, they all have to enjoy the same exams from the exam centers. That is unfair. So I have been an advocate for this change for all these years, and to make sure that every child enjoys decent education and gets easy access or equal access to quality education. And that has been the good I've lived for all these years. So if you ask me, that's what I would say for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now I'm typing in the question to all of us to reflect on. Now, also, if you've worked on your mic, please let us know so that we can actually have you. If there's one thing I have learned from all these collaborations or all these engagements is that we shouldn't quarrel, we shouldn't fight, we should learn to work and live together. Because if there's anything I have learned is that due to the fact that we find ourselves in this part of the world or in this continent, we try to, I mean, how is it possible that I travel with my own money and then I'm asked how many times I want to, how many days am I going to spend, how many days, how many that, because of certain engagement activities in my country. So very soon we are going to see how the youth are actually going to come up with their own initiatives in order for us to actually learn to live together. And I want to say thank you to all of you who didn't say no when I said, oh, let's join this and have this conversation. So I'm typing the question into all of us and let's reflect on, and feel free to actually give me the responses. It says, what are your thoughts on collaborating with other organizations or individuals who work with youth? And especially, let's also include people who are differently able, because I feel in as much as we are involving them, they're not being projected as much because they are just as us. And it will surprise you to know that these people are people with the best of ideas, greatest of talent, skills, everything, some just like us, but quote unquote stereotypical activities or stereotypical mindsets. And I like the fact that Connie said mindsets change. We need that mindset change. Nana also, please, if you are here, raise your hand up and let's have this next discussion. So, Henry, yes, you have something to tell us.
Yes, I think collaboration is key in our development, in our civic leadership roles. The moment you want to engage in this role called civic leadership or civic engagement, you must know that you cannot do it alone. You might have the idea, somebody must have the finances to push you. And all this, you need finances, you need support, you need encouragement, you need people around you who can help you to achieve all these dreams. So I will really, really encourage young Africans and to be collaborative in their effort to change their communities and to bring change to their societies, because you can never do it alone. You can never do it alone. There are people who have the resources, who have the cash, the money, and you have the idea. Collaborate with them, whatever it is. Collaborate with them. Have a proper contract deed that shows the input of both parties. So coming together as young people to engage in community developmental goals must be collaborative. Nobody should. So most of the time, young people who want to do it alone never ends anywhere, and then you exhaust your energy and your strength and your resources. Then you end there. But once you come together and work with the idea one person brings, I bring my finances. I bring, some people have the technology know-how, some have the finances, some have the energy, some have the contact. That is very important. The contact and the network are very important to reach out to people. Just like we are on this platform, it took one person's idea, and then the network of another person, the resources of other people, the technology, and then we are here talking about it. And this will go a long way to bring massive change in our environment and our society. And I'm so privileged to be here and sharing my thought as well. So, in terms of collaboration, we cannot do it alone. We have to come together to put our energies together to form that synergy that will bring about change in our communities.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Any other contribution, please? Okay, let's go on. But as you reflect, you can type in your responses. I want us to know if we could bring one or two things to this space in which we operate, be it leadership and civic engagement, because today that is the topic of the day. What would be the thing and why? If we could bring one thing to add up or to change to the existing circumstances in this space within which we all operate, be it leadership, the mental health sector, In fact, Dr. Promise is here. Why am I isolating him? The mental health. In fact, every sector in which we operate, and I know we are all leaders in one way or the other. What would be the one thing that we think we could bring on board to add up to society development, to change existing circumstances, and why? Mr. James, James Naya, I would love for you to speak on something for me.
I'll leave my hand and answer it as we go.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Connie, let's have you then. Let's have Connie.
Yeah, so I think I have some, of course, I don't know, because I see that there are a lot of things that we can bring in, but maybe the first one can be having or lobbying for youth. I know maybe they fail to perform simply because the policies are not that youth friendly. Policies that still make them not to be in the position to make decisions. Because as I already said earlier on, if we say the youth are making up over 50% of the population, it means they also have to be involved in decision making. But now, how can they be involved? Is whereby we lobby for policies, both maybe Africa as a continent, maybe at international level and also at local level, having policies that are deliberately making the youth to be in positions whereby they can be able to make my decisions. But the most important thing is that the youth themselves also have to be willing, because there is also an issue whereby maybe some people or some those in authority are trying to empower the youth, but now we find out that now the youth seems not to be ready. So it becomes or it brings in a situation where now in the next level, now the people say, we gave you the chance to do this, but you are not sure, you are not willing. So I think the first thing, it's where now we can have good policies that are youth friendly. They should not be a barrier to the youth. No. And the last one, I can say maybe if we try to improve education and skills development, because there are also some youth. Africa as a continent, we have issue in as far as access to education and skill development is concerned, and this also hinders the youth in as far as decision making and leadership is concerned, because you cannot be a leader yet you're not educated. You need to have at least some level of education. But if you look at our continent, in our countries, there's the issue of access to education. So I believe if we at least give a chance or to improve our education for the youth and also skills development, education that can improve maybe issues to do with critical thinking. Yeah, I think that can help the youth. Yes, I think I should stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Connie. Thank you so much. We need policies that are youth friendly, which are very good, and also we need policies that will help us improve education and youth. And thank God we have an educationist here. Ambassador Nyosa would say is also an education. But before I come to you, Dr. Esise says something. She said, the one thing I would wish to bring into this space, if I were youthful again, would be an emphasis on youth ethics and galvanizing of a movement of youth projecting strong values. I couldn't agree more with you. Sometimes we take advantage of youth ethics. Sometimes we are too entitled. So we need to check that. And we need to project strong values. Yes should be yes, no should be no. And I like how we don't sit on the fence. Some of the youth don't sit on the fence. We need to be charismatic. Yesterday I was watching an older man on charisma. He said we need to focus on one thing at a time, no matter the attention you have. If you are eating, you are eating. If you are listening, you are listening. If you are communicating, you are communicating. Because I assume that with our youthful age, we are very charismatic. But we have a lot of things juggling our attention that we tend to veer off our purpose and our calling. So we need to be charismatic. And that is one, when we take a decision, we need to stand by them and stick by them. And becoming good listeners, we become great communicators. These are some of the things. Thank you so much, Dr. Ace. I think, Khalid, we can add this to our brochure and then we can cite her. Okay, thank you so much. So, Ambassador Henry, and please, Dr. Promise, I'll come to you. Mr. Alexander, I'll come to you. I'll come to all of you. You people need to say something about this. So please, if Nana Owusu is here, please raise your hand because I can't see you from this side. So, Ambassador Henry, let's have your take. Connie said something about improving education and youth development. You are an educationist. You also deal in regional integration. And thank God the Africa Reformation Initiative is working on a conference inviting you. So please, let's have your take on this. Thank you.
I think what Dr. Say said is so powerful that there must be youth ethics. There must be proper, intentional, ethical leadership training for every young person who wants to engage in youth leadership or civic roles. That should be it. There should be ethics and there should be strong values. And that we should focus on those things to galvanize the youth to go properly into the leadership. But I think education is the number one thing that we all need, regardless of whatever you do. You need to properly cite yourself and mentally work on yourself and engage, read around whatever you are doing to be able to fit into that space. So, like I wanted to talk about what Khalid said about the policy, youth policy. There might be strong government policies that supports youth civic engagement. There must be policies that says that before you can get any employment in the government sector, you must have gone into civic leadership or civic roles in your community, show certificate from your district level or municipal that you've engaged in any community leadership or roles. Anything that shows that yes, you are really engaged in civic roles in the community. What have you done about even engaging in town hall meetings? It's one of the things that young people can engage in to foster growth in their areas. So I will want to see strong government policies. I want to see strong funding from governments to support youth initiatives that are into civic roles in our community. I want to see strong funding or strong support from government agencies into that area. Education must be prioritized by every young person, and from government being the topmost person must be able to make sure that there's proper a system that supports youth in education that will make them read around whatever they intend doing to be equipped in the area where they want to serve before they engage in so that they can be properly and ethically strong for such positions.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for what you said. Strong government policies. And in fact, based on your activities in education, especially when it comes to young children, basic education, I like the article you wrote about how, especially the one you published on LinkedIn, about education of the basic education of people in the rural areas. And kindly give us a gist about that, because that also has to do with leadership and civic education. Yes.
Yes, mostly after training college, young teachers or educators are posted to schools, and as usual, like the health sector, most people have to refuse posting to rural communities because there are no facilities there. Even most of the cities, there are no facilities. So young teachers and yes, young Africans will suffer a lot in those communities. And I think that young communities or deprived communities must not be left behind in education. Most of the times, because we don't give them facility, we don't support those communities, we don't engage those communities with the resources that need to go into those people. We deprive them of those the access to education, quality education especially, and that is even against human rights. if you don't supply them the facilities, so the struggles, take 10 deprived community young people, only about 2 or 3 will make it to further education in senior high school and into university. And then the rest will have to go into other minor jobs and end up as inappropriate to fit in our communities. Meanwhile, the resources that we give to these people in the cities all come from all those rural communities, and I think that this is a breach. This is an abuse to young people coming growing from those communities, and there must be proper documentation, the proper policies that ensure that one funny thing. Anytime there's elections, government makes sure the ballot papers go to every community, be it be behind or beyond the rivers or hills or valleys. There will be proper voting material there for them to vote. When it comes to education, when it comes to health, they say the roads are some unmotorable. They say there's no access to Sundays. Recently, you see how people have to die crossing rivers and all that. Pupils, young children have to die. It is not by their fault they have to live there. So there must be proper, intentional ways, policies that make sure that these kids have access to proper educational system and have access to quality education. Like I teach ICT. How many schools have libraries for ICT in basic schools, and they write exams in this, and it's one of the subjects that will promote you or will tell whether you have to go to senior high school or to further education to senior high school. But these are non-existent in the rural communities. There are no proper reading libraries or places where they can read, or even internet facilities for them to research or read online. And most of the times these things are almost online, and government policies are moving online. There's technology things and going on, but these kids are denied all these precious values, and they end up having no idea about what to do with their life. And I think that that's a breach of their basic human rights, and government and policymakers must look into that direction and make sure distribution of materials and should be equal to all these children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Nana Usu, I just saw you join. Are you here?
Yes, please.
Okay, okay. Whilst you prepare yourself, let me go to Mr. Alexander Labi Ado. Mr. Alexander, we were discussing on what things we think we need to include or add to contribute to civic development, to societal development. So what's your take or your opinion on that, please?
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Dapmo, and good evening to us all once again. I think our speakers and the earlier people who spoke have touched on a lot of critical areas when it comes to youth collaborations and how we are going to leverage resources with collaborations and stuff. Yes, but then I want to touch, or I want to second what Dr. ACC said, the youth ethics. I think youth are doing like quite extraordinary things in the civic space. I get it. But then what we need to be concerned about is the ethics, the ethical leadership we bring into that space, what we bring into youth engagement. Because countless or times without number, we are going into communities trying to replicate or build leaders. We are educating people. We are trying to incorporate this kind of civic leadership into the young ones and stuff. But then we miss out on a very important thing, that is the ethical part of this whole engagement. Because now I think I know some NGOs that sprang out in the notion, or with the notion that if they should enter into NGO, there are a lot of funding opportunities to grab. They should just establish some NGOs, try and do some community engagement, and at the end of the day, they try to benefit something. So that what is informist syndrome has to all boil down to the youth ethics and stuff. So I think we need to emphasize more on how to train young people to actually exhibit more of this ethical leadership. So basically, this is what our likers also bring into the space. Ethical leadership is very, very important to the success of engagement in our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labiad. Is Mr. Christantos here? Mr. Christantos, are you here? Okay. Nano Usu. Nano Usu.
Yes, please.
All right, Nanos, thank you for your resilience in joining back and forth. I think this we have identified a couple of problems across our continent. Even from Malawi, we know we have power crisis. From Zimbabwe, we know we have power crisis. From Cameroon, we know we have power crisis. Madagascar, my friend in Madagascar couldn't join because of power crisis. Morocco, power crisis. Across Africa, Democratic Republic of Congo, Congo Brazzaville, power crisis. And the second thing is border issues. Border issues. It's okay, people move freely in other countries or from other countries into this country without any difficulty. But even among the West African sub-region is an issue. Wodemaya contacted some people one time, and then some of my friends in Uganda also contacted me saying, let's have a talk on border issues. Oh, okay, Tukam, you are here. She's in Madagascar. Hi, Tukam. Hello, thank you so much for joining. Thank you. I know the time zone, but if you are joining, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I've had an opportunity to speak to your Minister for Youth and Sports, the lady in charge of sports. And I must say she's doing tremendous work. But let's all contribute to doing something. Oh, today we keep missing a nose. So Tukam, if you can hear me and you can say something, please, what are you currently engaged in Madagascar? And what are some of the things you think cuts across the African continent that you think we need to actually focus on? Tukam Winnie, if you can hear me, please. And if I mention your name wrong, you can correct me.
Yeah, yes, I can hear you. Yes, hello?
Hi, we can hear you. Thank you, Tukam.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm so sorry. We really have network issues, so I've been kind of in and out. Certain moment I couldn't get you guys again, but I'm here, and thanks for the privilege. Thanks for the privilege to join you guys on this talk. I am the founder of I'm Young and Parkton, and I really work with youth, like encouraging youth to come up with different projects, to believe in themselves, and to aim for the best. Because I was just talking with a friend few hours before joining the meeting. Madagascar, it's one of the poorest countries in the world, but we have a lot of youths who have a lot of potential, and that potential is not being exploited. It's not being exploited. We, for example, here, when I go for sensibilization campaigns with a lot of youths, they will tell you, no, you can talk because I'm a Cameroonian by nationality, but I'm resident in Madagascar. And you will hear, they will tell me, they'll be like, no, you're talking because you're wealthy. That's why it's easy for you to tell us to come up with projects. It's easy for you to tell us to do this and that, that and that. So we have a lot of youths who don't believe in themselves, and even the economy, the laws in place, the policies in place do not they do not even encourage youth to become entrepreneurs, to become independent. So that's one of the things for Madagascar. And when we talk of Africa as a whole, come on, we have a lot of problems. We see the migration crisis, which we are experiencing now with the case of Sfax in Tunisia, which is a very, very serious problem. We have and we have a lot of youths they want to cross at all means. They even putting their lives at stake. Despite all the risks and everything, they still try crossing to go abroad. So I think that's something we really need to address, the youth unemployment, because unemployment is one of the sources of this illegal migration. And we also have issues of insecurity. And because of insecurity, poverty, before I even enter into insecurity, we'll talk of this poverty, everything. La montée du djihad. We have now this rise in the jihadism. We have this rise in how Boko Haram. I don't know if I should use the word Boko Haram, but we have this rise. Voilà, le terrorisme. We have that rise. We see a lot of youths because of unemployment and because they want to of course they are looking for something for their lives when those terrorist groups, voila, when they propose something better, we see youths going there. We have issues of, because we don't have free migration, free circulation in Africa. The fact we have these closed borders, for example, I take my case. I was in Kenya recently. Come on, the visa fee was so high. I want to go to South Africa. The visa was so high, and I was like, "Come on, it's best I go to Europe, because going to an African country and I have to spend that much money is not even sure I'll be able to cover all the money I have spent." So I think it's better I go to Europe, because in Europe, at least, wow, I'll be getting more. And that goes same for young entrepreneurs I have been with, that I've worked, because recently I partnered with Entrepreneurs Sans Frontières
Okay.
for their first edition here in Madagascar. And where we're exchanging with youth about different ideas, things we can do, how we can do a lot of things. And there is a lot of closure. If we luckily there's internet now that really helps us expose ourselves a little bit more. But you see, there was a lot of closure. Why? Because people you don't even know what your neighbor is doing. You don't know. For example, we have Madagascar here. It's not far from La Réunion or Mayotte, but very few people have ever been to Mayotte or been to La Réunion. Why? Because it's a whole process to be able to go there. And that's why you see even youths who are migrate. I'll take a practical case that happened. I think that was on the 27th of July, where we have it was this 75 migrants, young migrants, and I think over 30 young girls of less than 30 years who tried going to Mayotte, of which Mayotte, because Mayotte is a French territory, there was this operation called l'Opération Wambushu. I don't know if you've heard about it, where France was resending people from Comor back to, people from Mayotte, because the Mayotte is beside Comor. So Comor, the people from Comor, ils sont en train de revendiquer. They are saying that Mayotte is their island, that it belongs to them and not to France. So we have a lot of people from Comor there. But France now signed a treaty. They did put a policy in place that was l'Opération Wambushu, where they are sending back people to their countries of origin. We also had people from Senegal and other African countries who wanted to pass through Mayotte to enter France. Immediately, those people reached there, they were locked up. They said because the number of young girls was too high, it was suspected that it should be something about un réseau de prostitution.
Okay.
Is it how they call it? That it was something around prostitution, and
Prostitution
because they
rate.
suspected that, what they did, they exactly. So they had to close, they had to imprison those people. So I think if we had free access, like free circulation and everything, it would have really, really helped us. So I think that's something we really need to address, because it even hinders in terms of productivity, it hinders in terms of trade. Like, I see the extraordinary things youth are doing here, but they have no means to export whatever they are doing to the other countries. We will hear something like, when they talk of dryness, maybe in Somalia, all these East African countries. Madagascar also is suffering from some kind of les sols sont arides. Madagascar also have some issues in the south of Madagascar. We have to import rice from China. We have to import flour from Ukraine. Of which, if there was this accessibility, if we could trade among ourselves, if borders were open, at least it would have encouraged this kind of it would have encouraged trading, and I think we would have been on autosuffisance. We would have not we wouldn't have attained completely autosuffisance. The word is not coming in English,
Economic
sorry, but
development.
at least we would have, yeah, we would have gotten to a certain level. So there are so many things, there are so many things we as youths need to address on that continent. And I think free movement of people is something which is very important. I was working on a document about that recently, about free movement of people and the advantages it has. I think it is so much that we don't need to miss it. We really don't need to miss it. And interconnection, because once if we can promote economic development, we'll be solving at the same time problems of insecurity, because insecurity comes from youth who don't find what they can do and they engage in robbery, or they engage in all these terrorist groups. It will prevent people from going to die in the rivers, la Mediterranean. It will prevent people from doing. So I think if free movement is something we can really accentuate on, and of course encourage young entrepreneurship. It is something like push young Africans to develop their minds. Let's not just sit on the receiving end, but we can also cross to the other side and be the ones producing and the ones giving, and it would really help us. Sorry, I was a bit long. Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you. I'm it's amazing what you said, and this is something that cuts across. And I think before we even bring this conversation to an end, every one of us is going to say something. And Work for Yali says, "Good evening, everyone. Joining late but enjoying the discussion already. My contribution concerns the lack of spotlight on mentors doing well in the spaces concerned. Identifying mentors that the youth can look up to and be encouraged by can help strengthen their mission. Hope we can encourage a celebration of mentors shining in the sector being discussed." I suppose you work for Yali, you are a mentor, you've been operating in that space, or you look up to a mentor. So to come win bien présentation là, si c'est possible, mettre vos contacts dans les chat box, ça sera mieux. If you can do that, if you can drop your chat box here, that would be great. Thank you so much. We've interested to do that. Yeah. Do you want to say something?
Mon WhatsApp ou bien, pardon. I was asking my WhatsApp which information? My WhatsApp number?
You can do an introduction. Everybody can do an introduction in the chat box. Leave your connections and all of that. James, you said you will raise your hand. We are waiting for Ni, Mama. You heard all. You heard all. Khalid, you've also heard all. You've heard it all, and I am so glad that
I'm learning.
I am so glad that Dr. S is here. I mean, we've learned a lot, but today this cross section I don't even know what to call it. Should I say intracontinental discussion or international discussion in a continent is very great. Connie Lulanga say, you see, despite okay, I lost you there. I mean, we all have the same internet challenges. If you can hear me, just lift up a hand or say yes. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, nice. Dr. Promise, I'm coming to you. You are hiding behind the scenes. This is something we need to look out for. I mean, some of us traveled last year to a certain country for a homecoming. We faced those challenges to the extent that some people came to some of us that we need to work on this border issue. We need to work on this. So where do we start from? Who do we go to? Where do we continue from? What are some of the challenges we think when we sit down we will attract? What are some of the ways we think we can actually overcome in order to achieve certain? Because first off, we know we have internet challenges. It's our power crisis is nothing to talk home about. A lot of things: education, health, security, governance. It's an issue, and we are having next week. By the way, we'll be having. I'm so glad we'll be having Mr. Christantos Ngome, who is actually a public servant, to talk to us on policies, and Mr. Ididi Rochebell, who is actually an international development expert, to also talk to us about foreign policy. So next week, kindly join. Yes. So please, Dr. Promise Edem, despite our level of development, all of us in Africa have same challenges, and this calls for effective collaboration. And I know that because I've been calling James is left, I know that you operate in the mental health, or let me just say health sector. These are some of the challenges we've been facing. And in fact, was it last week or last 2 weeks Sunday, I joined your discussion, and I feel that we as individuals, it was impacting us. So how do you think that as individuals we can actually contact our various friends, our individual friends? In fact, before Khalid and I came up with this initiative, we thought we wouldn't even be able to get one person, because Normally, when it comes to Africa, we want to see the African Union partnering, want to see ECOSOC, ECOWAS partnering, and all. Before people would think that these were actually doing something, but since we started, I have seen that it has actually contributed a lot. People actually go back to watch the video on YouTube and they say, "You guys are doing amazing." But the fact is that because we don't have we are not in the limelight, so we don't have the spotlight, it is difficult to get the numbers. However, I believe that from here we all have our very little contributions to make. So, Dr. Eden, please, let's have you, an international an international health practitioner. Let me say it like that. How do you think that collaboration can come? Because you also operate in the civic space. What do you think we need to do to improve in this sector?
Janet, I was here to actually learn.
I mean, everyone is learning and we are all contributing. So please, let's say something.
I think I will be caught on the spot.
Sorry.
But then the little I have to share is that, yeah, I think I really agree with all the experts shared on this platform and regard as far as this webinar or conference is concerned, right? I really much agree with everyone from Henry to Dr. SCC and yourself and all the others, and then the to come from Madagascar. The problems are common, and with respect to mental health, I would say that having been practicing in that space for some time now, I think that we as young people should really be aware of that particular domain, because you see, I am of the view that, and not only my opinion, but by research, that one of the major problems that the young people are going to face is ability to develop the mental resilience and the capacity, and then being mentally ready for whichever task that you want to, how do you call it? We want to undertake. Someone mentioned that ability for us to develop that youth ethics. I think it's Dr. Ese who brought up that, and then Henry also shared some more light on that. And I think I agree with them, because if you think that you are within a space, even if it is work, you are within a space where you are not being allowed to grow, or your mentor is being abusive, or your boss is being abusive, it is just proper to identify and then be able to be bold and confront the person that this is ABC that you are doing that I don't like, right? That is one. Two, it's one thing to identify, to get up and then inform your boss that this is what it is and I don't like it. Having been in Africa, I tend not to really focus on the problems, but the problems are there. But again, I ask myself, do we only focus about the problem and then complain about it, and then just complain and move out? But the point I'm trying to make is that having practiced in both Africa, specifically Ghana, Nigeria, and then I think the South Asia, I'm talking about India, Bangladesh, how do you call it, Colombo. Comparing these two continents with the small places that I have practiced, right? I think it's although there is unemployment over there in the other continents too, but when it comes to our part of the world, it seems that employees are kind of, I don't know, maybe it also depends on our upbringing as children, and therefore growing up as adult youth or youth in general. We find it difficult if our
in the time, it's your efforts for making the time to join us. And I can see all your people being here with us. Yes, thank you.
Actually, if it continues or it persists for some time, you may not be able to gather the resilience or the mental capacity if it continues to develop in the future. So I think as young people, we have to really take our mental health seriously, especially we Africans or we in the African continent. It is something that we haven't paid attention to. And as a matter of fact, as Africans, but it's just that one of the ways we used to, how do you call it, deal with mental health or mental resilience in Africa, both at the workplace and at the family level, is the connectedness. But I feel that we are losing that connectedness. We are losing that, as the colleague from Madagascar said, most people have that information for themselves. And if that happens, someone to maybe suffering or someone wants to complete a project and other stuff, and because even though the information is there, plunge the person into that sort of mental dilemma, and it's rather hurting the person, resilience factor. So this is the bit I have to share. And thank you very much for the opportunity. And in fact, I'm really learning a lot.
Thank
Anytime
you.
I join, these webinars or conferences, I prefer I prefer to rather learn, and it comes out obvious that I tend to learn new things every day. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Dr. Promise. We really appreciate it. Dr. Ben Bright
Thank
is
you.
also here. He's an IT expert and a consultant. Thank you so much, Dr. Ben Bright, for joining us. It is really an honor to have you here. Khaled, before we continue, kindly prepare yourself so that at least so the one thing I'm saying I'm going to take from all of us, you can type them, you can raise your hand and say them. What how do you think we need to make our leaders hear us? Because we've done demonstrations. This is the first time I'm hearing entrepreneurs sans frontier, which means entrepreneurs without borders. All we learned was médecins sans frontier, doctors without borders, which means Winnie is actually doing stuff. She's really doing stuff. So as youth, how should we call or attract the attention of our leaders for them to know that, in fact, and not to be partisan, but in as much as we can have party affiliation because of our ideologies and values and morals, how do we draw their attention? Because there have been instances where this year I attended the African Union, the World Bank Youth Summit, the African Union. Somebody blatantly said African Union has failed us because this is not the discussion we need to be having. We need to be having discussions about entrepreneurship. We need to be having discussions about youth development, about how the youth should not be engaging themselves in derogatory activities. These are some of how do we change the status quo as young leaders coming up? Because these are some of the things. There are leadership in business management, leadership in public management, leadership in entrepreneurship and management. But how do we change the state?
Be more collaborative. We should rise to the occasions. We must be everywhere. We shouldn't shove ourselves to our shelf and be like, because we are not leaders, we are not occupying government positions or top positions. We will not talk. The little things we type on our social media handles, the positive vibes, the very important things we say, the way we carry ourselves, the way we send out memos and our write-ups, our articles, and everything that we do must be very positive, must be encouraging, must be hitting, policies challenging, so that government and policymakers will understand that whatever roles they assign to us and whatever positions they assign to us, we are going to live up to it and challenge the status quo. Whatever field you find yourself, either law or medicine or education or health or agriculture, you should live mentors or be ready to be mentored. Allow yourself, be ready for the roles that we take. So young people in Africa must be ready to challenge the status quo. They must go forward. They must, if it's demonstration, peaceful one, they must go for it. If it's a cause that they have to challenge and lead and go to the court to challenge the status quo. When I took a certain case to court about disability, about neglect, about abuse of human rights and disability, in about 4 or 5 years ago, nobody thought. Then that is when I realized that a lot of people has kept coming to me and say, "Oh, we were treated like this, we were abused like this when we were trying to board on and fly because we have this ability or that."
and so many people have been hurt because no one want to take the challenge to go to court and challenge the system. It has been happening until we stood up on our feet and said we have to challenge this thing at the court. It's the court came in our favor and directed that this and that there are guidelines that must be respected by service providers. When it's a public structure or public transport, there must be disability friendly. These things are happening. We see them all everywhere in the university states, in the public domains. There are centers, there are offices that have no place for disabled people to use, and they're not friendly for them at all. We see them as young people. We don't really care because we think yes, it is not us. And but for all you know, disability is part of us. We can be disabled anytime. If you grow to some age, you'll be disabled automatically, and then you never know when you can become disabled. So cases like this must be challenged by the youth who have strong voice, who have the resource, who are exposed to facilities. And these days, I tell you, because of social media and the internet tool that we have, we can be more powerful. We can be in our rooms and still be demonstrating. We can be in our room and still being heard. We don't have to be on the street, but we can still use the tool that we have today as internet and social media as a strong tool to empower the next generation and make sure we are heard and make sure we change the status quo and make sure we challenge policies that does not favor us and make sure we hold office policymakers and leaders responsible for any action that does not go well with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Henry. Yes, Winnie, you have something to say. Let's hear you.
Yes. Thank you, Henry, for what you just said. It was really powerful. What I want to say was there's a question you asked. You were like, how can we address all these different things as youth? And I wanted to first point out something that which is very important, which I think is one of the fundamentals, is that we youths we must see ourselves as one. We must not see ourselves as, how can I say, that other person belongs to the other part, or that other person is this other thing. Well, because I realized something. Some people feel like they want the spotlight. They feel like we're in competition, of which we are not in competition, but we are here to collaborate together. So I think one of the fundamental things we must understand is that we are partners. We are collaborating together and we are not in competition, because sometimes we feel like if this other person is shining, I will not be shining. And because some people want to take the spotlight, they want to receive all the accolades and everything. So I think we should put first the common interest before our personal interest. And once we have that mindset, I can assure you we will go far. Everything we decide on, we will be able to implement them well, because we have one focus. But if we start putting like personal interests in front, I think that's one of the things that will hinder us. That's one of the things that is going to stop us. So it's something we really need to encourage ourselves, I'm included, of course, to put the common interest first and to see others as collaborate. It doesn't matter who shines. The most important is that, for example, laws should be put in place. Like when Henry was just talking about the disabled people, I work with a lady and we talk, she'll be like, no, Winnie, you guys don't consider the disabled. You guys, she always insists on that. So we should really see ourselves as collaborators and not as people who are fighting for the light. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joshua, yours up. Abigi Joshua.
Very good evening to you. My name is Honorable Abigi Joshua. Sincerely, I appreciate for giving me this opportunity. I'm from Nigeria, and talking about how can we contribute. Yes, we have to take deliberately attention, the desired attention the our leaders need, because sometimes they feel maybe we are not up to their own level or their standard, then they could not give us opportunity to represent, to take a decision making and round table. So that have been affecting the young people, and which is the key point. I'm talking to you based on the experience I had here in Nigeria. There are certain things that we must take deliberate attempts, because if you don't do it, nobody will know, even recognize you. Even though you are doing it and they don't recognize, keep on doing it, keep on pushing your desire. There are certain times that I started advocacy for good governance in Nigeria here, and people were not looking at it. But surprisingly, in 2023 general elections, I was invited by the national media to come and talk to young people on general election, youth as key stakeholder in general elections. So these are the things we need to do. You must start something. If you start it, keep on growing it, the passion. But some people prefer, most young people go for money instead of doing some deliberate attempt that might change the mindset of young people. The activisms we are talking about is for you to take some deliberate action, ensuring that we draw the desired attention, not going in the wrong way, because there are other areas whereby if you go, it's a source of distraction. Maybe it's a form of drawing security as well. So you have to understand the steps you are taking in order not to what, destroy yourself as well. Because most of these our leaders, they don't want you to grow, they don't want you to grow, and you must understand your steps, you must define it, and your implementations, you have to carry other people who have the prior knowledge of what you're about to do. Seek experience, seek knowledge, and you will get the right thing, and you get the right tools to implement your actions. So deliberate attempts are the things we need to take, and young people, most especially in Africa, we must tell our leaders that these are the certain things we must do to prevent our future, to protect our future. If we don't do that now, the time will come whereby we don't have even have the opportunity to do it again. So we must take deliberate steps now to what, affect the leaders directly, because we must sometimes, for example, in after elections, let's put it this way, after elections, some of these leaders will work for them, but at the end of the day you will not even have opportunity to represent. They don't even pick your cause. So you must find something you can do to drag more attention, so that they will know that young people are existing and they are capable of handling leadership. You understand? So they are
Yes.
capable of handling leadership. But if you don't understand this way, we don't take deliberate attempt, they will be ending up at the background. At the end of the day, we don't have the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abigi Joshua. Thank you so much. We have to bring this discussion to an end, but it doesn't end here. We can go and tag others. A lot of things are going on. As youth, we need to come together and do stuff. We need to have, Tukam says, we don't need to compete. People at the top don't compete, they collaborate. I think I saw that from Mr. Alexander's status. People at the top don't compete at all. They actually collaborate because they know they are two big stars. One person has their own domain within which they operate, and another also has their own domain within which we operate. He says we must see ourselves as one people. We are partners, we are collaborators, we need to collaborate together, and common interest must come before personal interest. Thank you to come, and thank you, Joshua, for saying that we need to keep pushing. We don't need to actually pay attention to what they are doing to us. Thank you so much for that wonderful submission. Any
Please, I
yes,
want to
sir.
also ask if there is a group.
Okay, yeah, groups. There
If
are
there is a
several
group,
groups.
please excuse me. I want to ask if there is a group we can call.
There are actually several groups you can join, or you can actually
So
follow.
please, you can link us up.
Yes, you
You
can
can link us
follow.
up.
You can follow me on LinkedIn at Janet Owusudakon. I think I am putting the details in the in chat box so that you can see it as well, so that you can go and look me up. But there are lots of groups.
Okay.
There are lots of groups that you can join. You can be joined to. Okay, you can be added to as well. Thank you so much. Any last minute comments from Mr. Connie, Mr. Henry Osabute? I begin with you, Mr. Henry. Then we end with Connie, and then Khaled. Khaled. Okay, Connie, let's hear you. Connie, let's hear you. Don't mute yourself. Let's hear you. Henry, please hold on.
Thank you very much once again, and I want.
Connie, let's hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, but please
Okay.
hold on. Connie, let's hear you.
All right, thanks. First of all, to thank my brother Abig. I think I've been long friends on WhatsApp with some calls from Nigeria. Thank you so much for your wonderful contributions. There is a word that says, "There's nothing for us without us," and many are the times where we think there will come someone and fight for our rights. Of course, I also like to listen to Bob Marley music. I like so much. And this song that says, "Get up, stand up, and fight for your right." So I want to relate to what Mr. Joshua was saying as we conclude, to say here in Malawi is a good example where the youth rise up once. The year between 2019 to 2020, the issue concerning the general elections. Most of the people that took part going to the street and demonstrating were the youth. And there was one lesson that I learned, to say, if the youth, we come together and unite for a common goal, we can indeed grab whatever we want in our life. Now, I should say, as it stands right now, we as the youth, we are very, very much frustrated, because the people that we fight for, we all know people could go to the streets almost each and every day just to bring down the oppressive government. And indeed, it happened that the government did not make it during the elections, and the people that we wanted to come into the government indeed made it. But now, 3 years down the line, there's nothing that we can point at as to what they have done to the youth. So we are very, very much frustrated in such a way that we never know whom to vote for now in the next elections, because we no longer trust anyone. And the one we elected being also a pastor from the church, so it's like now we have lost hope. But there is still a chance, if you can come together as youth, fight for a common good, not fighting because one day you'll be given a position in the government. No, just fighting in general. Because if you go back and find those people who are fighting for African independence, you find out those people did not have selfish ambitions. But most of the activists that we have nowadays, they seem like they're not really indeed activists, because mostly they fight for their own good. Now, coming back to the issues, I will just talk about maybe 2 points as we conclude, about strategies that indeed can help to enhance youth leadership and engagement. I think the first thing that we have to fight for is also the issue of partnership and collaboration. Locally, in our countries, we can foster collaboration between the government, and the government organizations, the private sector, and also a youth-led organization, where now we can create a network. And now this network can support the youth leadership and engagement in activities. I know that through this collaboration partnership between the government, the NGOs, the private sector, and the youth organization, can indeed one of the good strategies that can enhance youth leadership and also civic engagement. And another thing is, if we try to recognize, maybe bring in recognition and awards, there are youth that are doing great things, but one of the things that make them to pull down is that maybe they are not being recognized. So if you can make a deliberate move to be awarding and recognizing all the youth, celebrating their outstanding youth leadership and their contribution to the society, that can help to motivate them, number one, and it can also help to motivate those youth that are not yet there. Maybe they have a vision to engage themselves in the youth leadership. Now, when those people see that the other youth who are already there, they are being engaged, they are being recognized, maybe be given awards, that one day they should also engage themselves in the issue of youth leadership and civic engagement in the civic space. And lastly, I should say, we can also create platforms, maybe exchanges. Maybe there can be local or international engagements and exposures where now we can see, oh, I think this is what being done in Malawi, this is done in Nigeria, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Madagascar, Cameroon, and now we can be getting much motivated. Even these online platforms having meetings like this frequently, and let's say this is August, let's say we agree on something we want to do, and now we assess ourselves, and each and every can come after 3 months to say, okay, in Malawi, what have we done for the past 3 months in this in youth, in engaging the youth and in the civic space? What have we done there in Nigeria? What have we done there in Ghana? Discussing where we went wrong, fire other youth that are there. And I should also thank to say today it was just a good presentation. I've learned a lot from Janet, Mr. Henley. We have Alexander, of carried. I think we have learned so much from you, and I hope, and it is my pray that maybe in our next meeting, because I know Miss Janet, maybe this is not the last one. We're going to have more of these meetings in future. We'll share the link to more people to join. I'm also a youth leader here in Lilongwe City. I'm chairing a youth network composed of over 20 youth clubs and youth organizations. I also share the link so that more people can come in and join the meeting and also hear from other fellow youth. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Cody. Thank you so much. Ambassador Henry, let's have you. You are muted. You are muted.
Oh, sorry. So basically, I was just thanking you and Kind Hope Organization in Zimbabwe for bringing this together. And it's a privilege to be here and to put our energies together and our thoughts and our ideas and everything we are made of together to be able to reform Africa and push the Africa agenda and make sure we put our many resources together for the betterment of our generation. And finally, I want to say, as an educationist, we have to focus on education and skills building, and to invest much of our resources into education and skills development and building programs that can equip the African youths with the necessary tools to tackle the challenges that we have. By putting this together, I am very sure and sincere that we'll be able to, by adopting some of these things that we discussed today on such platforms like this, and the strategies and embracing collaboration, African youth can harness their various collective potentials to make a positive difference in these challenging times. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. We need to harness our potential so that we can collaborate. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your attention. I want to say a very big thank you to all our partners since the beginning. By next week, we will be ending this series, and next week, Saturday, 12th of August, is actually the International Youth Day, and we're gonna have Mr. Christantos Inome Ingome from Cameroon, who happens to be the chief of party of the Ministry of Youth and Sports in Cameroon, and Mr. Ididi Rochebel the 8th, His Excellency Ididi Rochebel the 8th of Uganda, the chairperson of the African Reformative Initiative, and the chairperson of the East Africa University Students Association, as well as Nano Usuamuamuateng for the second time. Thank you so much. I want to say a very big thank you to Ekrasin Punto Foundation, Sharing Education Community College, and of course the host organization, Kind Hope Organization, Legends Health Link, Society Influencers Foundation, Rank Digital Marketing Consultancy Limited, Rural Consultancy. These people are across Africa. Rural Consultancy of Nigeria, Eastern Tech Hub Ghana, Henry Sabute Foundation Ghana, Heritage Jews of Togo, the Entrepreneur Adventure of the Gambia, Street Fund Global, a global initiative, Africa Reformation Initiative Uganda, and some naturals headquartered in Ghana but a global initiative, and Strictly Social Africa. These are the organizations who actually came on board to partner to have this webinar a success. So let's all meet here next week, same time, 4 p.m. to crown the International Youth Day, which will contribute to our preparation of the brochure that we are going to be presenting, not just to each and every one of you here, but to the Yali RLC as well, and the Africa Reformation Initiative, and the upcoming Africa Reformation Initiative to be held in Uganda, where we will have PLO Lumumba. Most of us know PLO, Professor Lumumba. Thank you so much for your time. Khalid Adam Kasim, kindly give us your closing remarks and let's call it a day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janet. I would like to thank all our partners, everyone who has joined us. I must say I was very happy today. I realized we had quite a number of people that joined us today, and I want to believe our final stage of this series, we are going to have more than we had today, and ensure that we have a more massive discussion like the one that we did today. So I want to thank our panelists, Connie, Dr. Henry, and the other one, I think he was having network challenges, and I want to thank the others who contributed, Alexander, Promise, Dr. Gideon, thank you. I see you there. Blessing, thank you again. Rita, thank you for joining. Opia, thank you. And everyone else, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I much appreciate, and I'm looking forward to have you guys again this coming Saturday. So we will share the link so that everyone else will share with our people, so that we have got more people. We get to conversate and share more ideas. And I also want to support the idea that was said, that let's collaborate. Let's not behave like people who are in competition. It's funny that I managed to have these webinar series with Janet, but here in Zimbabwe, you try to approach 1, 2, 3, it doesn't work out because people think you are in competition with them. But I'm happy that this one seems to be fruitful. We are getting to meet people from different countries, get to share ideas and mapping the way forward. So I'm very happy. Let's continue to do that. Whenever you guys from your end, you have got something, don't hesitate to get hold of us. We get to share and discuss together, because what we want at the end of the day is a better Africa for all. So let's not tire. Let's continue working hard. When we started these webinars, we were having a few number of people, but I'm seeing as we go, it's increasing. So like the other guys were saying, we need to push on, like Abik was saying. Let's not get tired. Let's push on. Let's push on. We'll get there finally. So I don't have much to say, but to just thank you guys. Let's follow each other. Let's like each other's pages. Let's market each other, and then we win together as one. Thank you, guys. Great evening. Thank
Thank
you,
you very
Janet.
much.
Over to you.
Thank you very much, Khalid. Thank you all so much for making the time. We want to appreciate you all. And until we meet next time, Blessing, I'm now seeing you. Oh, Blessing. Don't worry, next week when you come, I'll give you your quota to contribute. Thank you so much for making the time with us. Thank you so much. And yes, please, I'll also be sharing our YouTube channels. Have a very blessed week. Let's meet same time, 4 p.m., 6 p.m. wherever you are, 7 p.m. for the Madagascar people, 5 p.m. for my Nigerian, my Cameroonian, my Dr. Congo friends. Have a blessed week. Good night to all of us.
Thank you, Janet. Good night.
Thank you so much, Janet. I would like to thank all our partners, everyone who joined us. I must say I was very happy today. I realized we had quite a number of people that joined us today, and I want to believe our final stage of this series, we are going to have more than we had today, and ensure that we have a more massive discussion like the one that we did today. So I want to thank our panelists, Connie, Mr. Henry, yeah, the other one, I think he was having network challenges, and I want to thank the others who contributed, Alexander, Promise, Dr. Gideon, thank you, I see you there, Blessing, thank you again, Rita, thank you for joining, Pia, thank you, and everyone else, thank you so much, I much appreciate, and I'm looking forward to have you guys again this coming Saturday. So we will share the link so that everyone else will share with our people, so that we have got more people, we get to conversate and share more ideas. And I also want to support the idea that was said, like, let's collaborate, let's not behave like people who are in competition. It's funny that I managed to have this webinar series with Janet, but here in Zimbabwe, try to approach 1, 2, 3. It doesn't work out because people think you're in competition with them. But I'm happy that this one seems to be fruitful. We are getting to meet people from different countries, get to share ideas and mapping the way forward. So I'm very happy. Let's continue to do that. Whenever you guys from your end for something, don't hesitate. Get all of us. We get to share and discuss together. Because what we want at the end of the day is a better Africa for all. So let's not tire. Let's continue working hard. When we started this webinar, we were having few number of people, but seeing as we go, it's increasing. So, like the other guys were saying, we need to push on. Like Abik was saying, let's not
Hmm.